But it turns out they weren't busy combating Russian disinformation. They were desperately trying to find Russian disinformation. Now, throughout much of the 2020, Twitter execs were telling the FBI they didn't see much evidence of Russian bot activity. In fact, at one point they told the Bureau that it had only removed 345 largely inactive accounts. But the FBI kept pushing. And in July of 2020, Elvis Chan, a special agent with the San Francisco Bureau, upped the ante. He began arranging to grant top-secret security clearances for some Twitter execs ahead of the election. In just 2 months' time, Chan and Yoel Roth, Twitter's then head of trust and safety, had set up an encrypted election communication platform for the FBI and Twitter. And that system soon came in very handy because in October 2020, within hours of Hunter Biden's legal team getting tipped off to the New York Post story exposing his emails, Roth received 10 documents from Chan throughout the new communication platform. Now, we don't yet know the exact contents of those documents, but we do know that once the New York Post story was published hours later, Twitter and other social media companies censored the story, preventing its spread before the vote. And also, we know what happened in the aftermath. While many Twitter execs couldn't point to specific evidence, it was all hack material, thus violating Twitter's policy, then Twitter General Counsel Jim Baker, who had the same role at the FBI, was the most adamant that it was. So in the end, with Baker's help and Yoel Roth's eventual buy-in, the FBI's influence campaign to suppress anything related to the Hunter Biden laptop story worked. Joining me now, Miranda Devine, columnist at the New York Post, author of The Laptop from Hell. Also joining me is Mike Davis, founder and president of the Internet Accountability Project. Miranda, it is disturbing how interconnected the FBI was with Twitter and then how the censorship began.
Well, I think, as always with these stories, it's the cover-up that ends up tripping up the wrongdoers. And here, because of Elon Musk and his commitment to transparency, we are seeing what the FBI was up to. And they were grooming Twitter employees. We can see this throughout the autumn of 2020 to immediately recognise our story when it came up in October of 2020, 3 weeks before the election, to recognise our story as what they'd been told to look out for, which was Russian disinformation, hacked material. And they sweetened the pie by giving Twitter $3.4 million of taxpayer money. That's what the FBI did. And we see also these Aspen Institute tabletop exercises in September of 2020, which actually have a hypothetical, it's called the Burisma leak, where Hunter Biden material about his getting paid $1 million a year by this Ukrainian energy company, that's leaked. The only difference is that they told Twitter that this was not true, that this was a Russian plant. And who was at that Aspen Institute hypothetical? Not just Twitter, but New York Times and Washington Post reporters. So this was an entire censorship regime set up to ensure that no derogatory material about Joe Biden from the laptop would ever see the light of day before the election. It was strangled at birth.
Wow. Now, Mike, before the 2020 election season even got going, you had this special agent, Elvis Chan. He was interviewed about how the FBI was preparing for the election. Check it out.
One of the things that was really important to us that we didn't have ahead of 2016 was established channels of communication with private sector companies, specifically social media companies. So we've done a much better job since 2016 of really establishing channels of communication, being able to share threat indicators with them so that they can protect their platforms.
Threat indicators? Who protects us against the Twitter people and the FBI? Turns out, Mike, that they were protecting their platforms from the truth getting out to the voters.
Yeah, and the FBI had Hunter Biden's laptop in December of 2019. They subpoenaed that laptop from the Delaware computer repair shop, and it was in August of 2020 that computer repair shop owner reached out to Rudy Giuliani on the Trump campaign and the FBI just happened to be surveilling Rudy Giuliani's communications. So that could have been what led to the Aspen Institute, planning that led to the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story at the New York Post 2 weeks before the election. This is outrageous what they've done here, and the House Republicans in January have to get to the bottom of this.
Now, Miranda, I know your communications were swept up in this because you were communicating with Giuliani at the time. So I want to fast forward here into the next year as we approach 2024. Should we just presume that the intel community is completely working against the interest of the American people in key regards, given what we've learned about this? Is there any indication they're stopping this kind of activity?
None at all. In fact, they're continuing on. They pretend that what they're doing is somehow against malign foreign actors. This is what the FBI said this week. In one statement to defend itself, it pretended that what it was doing was protecting the American people from Russian disinformation. Unfortunately, half of the country believes that because their organs of choice, their media organs of choice, have completely ignored the Twitter files. They've actually supported the censorship of the New York Post, and they've peddled lies from the intelligence community from the very beginning of the Trump campaign. The Russia collusion lies that just now blended into these lies about the Hunter Biden laptop also being Russian disinformation. And it all helps one side of politics, which is the Democrats. So I think the only chance there is for this country to retain freedom of speech or regain it is for the Republicans. With that narrow majority in the House, they really need to get stuck into the FBI.
Absolutely. Miranda and Mike, great to see both of you tonight. Thank you.